It's a tremendous chus to be back here again. Birshus Arosh Yeshiva, Yedid Nafshi Arav Shlite. Birshus Moira veRaboisai Ayekorim veAhuvim. I am really privileged. It's a tremendous chus to learn with you again. Today, we're going to deal with a very horrific subject. Remember the terrible tragedy that happened only 2 months ago? Chodesh Cheshvan. Har Nof. Who's from Manzi? You heard about it, right? You know what I'm talking about. You know what happened 2 months ago in Har Nof?
Yeah.
You were here already.
He moved in Elo.
In Elo. So we all know what happened. Roitzchim Shvelim Me'uma Shvela came. And it seems that Nitna Reshus Lamashchis Lehashchis, Kodesh Baruch Hu allowed, for whatever reasons we don't know the Cheshbonos Shamayim. But because of what happened, stem out of it very interesting halachic, fascinating cases which we were going to want the Beis Din of the Yeshiva Arzei Levanon to figure out for us what is the appropriate halachic approach for each of these cases. So we delve into the first case. Listen what happened. While the whole thing was going on in the shul, one of the guys who was there and noticed what was going on picked up a stender, and with all his power and might, all his strength, all his love, all his power, everything he had in him, he took the stender and he threw it at one of the Mechabel Yimach Shimam Vezichra. He missed, but he did the right thing. Now comes the Shaila that only Klal Yisrael can produce such a Shaila, because Mikei Amcha Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz. There is no other nation like Klal Yisrael. This tzaddik who wanted to save Yidden and save himself is asking us. You know what happened as a result that I threw the stender? The stender broke. Do I have to pay the value of the stender? Who's asking this question? Really, the shul should be asking the question, but the shul doesn't have a mouth. So we today are the mouth of the shul. The stender belongs to the shul. And you take something which belongs to the shul and you break it, avada, you have to pay. But in a case where you want to save from a terrible tragedy like what happened, does he have to pay or not? You're a question. Bilei ploim. Only at tzaddik. What?
The person himself.
He came and he said, since the shul can't sue me, I want to know, do I have to pay for the stender or not? Only tzaddikim and Klal Yisrael can produce that shailas. Not 15 years later. 2 weeks later. Bilei ploim of a shaila. Doesn't make a difference the answer. The shaila is a kiddush Shem Shamayim. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that he has such children, that this is what they're concerned about, but maybe I owe 250 shekels to the shul. It's a kiddush Shem Shamayim. But Arzei, we need to hear what the halacha is. Does he have to pay or not? What do you say? Wait, the pasuk says, Shalom Shalom L'rachok V'l'karov Amar Hashem. L'karov V'l'rachok. Who's first? Shalom Shalom? L'rachok. So Mansi comes first. L'rachok V'l'karov. Mansi gets the first. Right. Unless Mansi is drinking. What's your first name?
Ari.
Aaron or Ari?
Ari.
Ari. Unless Ari needs time to digest it. Or digest what he's drinking then. You want to tell us what you think?
No, he has to pay.
He has to pay. Shh. No rachamim in Mansi?
What?
No rachamim? He tried to save you and himself and everybody else in the shul. Why does he have to pay?
Because it's someone else. Because it's not Hashem's.
Because it's somebody else's property. You have any documentations to back up what you're saying? We like in these halachic discussions documentations coming from Gemore, Shulchan Aruch, Poiskim, something. We like svaros. We like good svaros. We'll take it. But we prefer that it's based, rooted in a source, some kind of a source. What do you say? He has to pay or not? What do you say? What happened? You didn't eat today?
He doesn't have to pay because, let's say you could consider the guy's a rodif.
Who's a roidif?
The Arab.
The Arab is a roidif, and thus I can.
What? I could take his life in order to save mine and other people's life. So the fact that it didn't work out, it's still an attempt to save some.
We're not saying he did the wrong thing. He did absolutely the right thing. He did the biggest mitzvah in the world.
Right.
But perhaps you have to pay for mitzvahs.
But if if let's say in the case of Rodef and they ran into the base of Mikdash, yeah, and there was a ox there or whatever, and he pushed the ox over and the ox died and this guy died, the Rodef, so he wouldn't have to pay because
No, let the Rodef die.
it's pikuach nefesh. It's a case of pikuach nefesh.
It is a pikuach nefesh. Does that entitle you to use somebody else's money? That's what this boils down to. So we have a machloikis between Mansi and Ramas Bes Shemesh. It's not Mansi anymore.
No.
It's Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem. Ramas Bes Shemesh Aleph?
It was Spring Valley.
Where do you live now?
Not this one.
So we have a local machloikis. Ad sheyavo hashlishi ve'achia b'neihem. Oh, Nimna.
Is it the same thing like now let's say the police came and now the police let's say were shooting at them. Now let's say they were shooting and they like smashed the window because the police were shooting. Is it the same kind of case?
Who smashed the window?
Well, the police because they were trying to shoot.
The police is a body of the government. First of all, they don't ask us questions usually.
No,
Second of all,
The government probably pays because they end up fixing all the
true.
damages.
So they are outside our discussion. This is an individual.
So if somebody was shooting at the Arabs and he ended up cracking a window.
That will be the same question.
It's the
Same question. I damaged somebody else's property in order to save.
Even though it wasn't direct.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very direct. It's not a grammar. To shoot means it's
No, I'm
direct.
saying this guy took a standard and threw it. Most chances is gonna break.
True. But when you take a gun and you shoot at a person, who says you're gonna get it? You know, not necessarily you're gonna shoot the guy. You're gonna mistama. More chances you're gonna hit the window because the guy is moving, and you're gonna break it. So it's the same.
So I say it doesn't have to pay.
Doesn't have to pay. Oh, you have support. You have support.
So I have another reason why I wouldn't have to pay because it could be like it didn't totally miss. The standard didn't totally miss. It definitely distracted the mechablim for a second.
True.
So it's very possible that he saved somebody else's life.
He did. Are you allowed to save somebody else's life with somebody else's money? That's the question.
Answer the question.
Yeah.
No Mishnah if you were successful or not.
The Yeshua Nefesh allows you to do it, but we're talking about a monetary issue. Not whether you're allowed to do it or not. You're allowed to do it. You have reshus from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. But it could be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're allowed to do it, but you also have to pay. What do you say?
Maybe you're allowed to do it, but you're going to do it.
So we can't obligate. If it's a Chai B'dei Shamayim, that means we in Deis Din down here can't obligate him to pay. Should pay.
You probably should.
It's not like he's saying, I don't want to give the money.
No, he just wants to know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from him.
He should pay just to be on the safe side.
We don't want to pay out of being a safe side because he doesn't have extra cash coming out of his pocket, and because we're not looking for being Dinei Chasidus. We want to know what the halacha is. Does he have to pay or not?
Could we add,
Arav Shlita.
could we add in this Shiloh, would you feel that there's an afkamina because it would belong to the shul as opposed to it belong to another person? What
Nope,
would it be if,
I don't feel there's a difference.
what would it be if there was another person here? So what maybe
And
could
I
be
took
a
somebody
svara?
else's tender?
And what could be a svara here to
I'll tell you
make
what
it
this
happen?
boils down to. It's a Gemara. In Baba Kama, Kuf Yud Zayin. The Gemara says, Matzil atzmo b'mamon chaveiroi chayav. You are allowed to, if somebody's running after you, you're allowed to run through somebody else's property, to jump on his car, to do whatever is necessary to save your life. You're allowed to do that, and more than allowed. It's a mitzvah to do that. It's pikuach nefesh. However, you have to pay.
How does the Gemara know?
The Gemara has a discussion back and forth. Baba Kama Kuf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. I suggest you visit that page, and you're going to find out all about that long discussion. But the Gemara decides, and that is how it's paskin halacha lemaaseh. Matzil atzmo b'mamon chaveiroi chayav. You are allowed to do so. However, you have to pay. However, so what's the answer to our question? He has to pay. But matzil atzmo b'mamon chaveiro chayav, matzil acherim b'mamon acherim potu. If you save others with somebody else's property, you're potu. Chachami made a decree.
Because
Chachami said, you know what's going to happen?
people are saying not going to save it.
Of course. Why do I have to lose my shirt? Because I'm going to save you. You deal with it. And people are going to be demotivated to save others, and they won't. They'll stay home. Oh, I never saw what happened. I never saw what happened. And therefore Chachami said, you know what? If you save others with somebody else's money, you're patu. So what's the case in our situation? No! Oh, here, this is where it boils down to. What about matil atzmoi En acherim b'mamon acherim. Can we say he is patu because he's after all saving others, or can we say he's chayav because after all he's saving
Use
himself?
the Svar of the Gemara.
The start of the Gemara is that because that would be demotivated.
Oh,
But Tachlis, he was also saving himself, so maybe that part isn't the child.
you know who you're speaking like now? The Minchas Pitim. Rabbi Meir Arik. Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, a giant of all giants, about 100 years ago, the Rebbe of the Kloisenberger Rebbe. Zecher Tzadik Livrocha. He says exactly what you said. What do you mean? So what if he is saving himself as well? Is he demotivated? He wants to save himself no matter what, and therefore he should be chayav to pay.
There's no worry.
Comes in the Sivus Mishpat in Shin Mem Vav and say, no. The fact that you're in it as well is not megareah. It doesn't take away shkoyach from the fact that you're within the institution of Chazal that say that matzil acherim b'mamon acherim is patu. And he argues. Comes the Pnei Yeshua, and he says exactly like the Minchas Pitim, that the fact that you're matzil yourself wouldn't mean that, otherwise I wouldn't do it. No, you would do it anyways because you want to save yourself, and therefore should be chayav. And the Pnei Yeshua brings a raya from the Gemara, Baba Kama Daf Samech, from David HaMelech. David HaMelech was fighting with the Plishtim. The Plishtim were shooting at Klal Yisrael. And they were, what's that? Yeah, what did you say? Not shooting with guns. I know you're wondering about that. They were throwing rocks and all of other goodies at Klal Yisrael. There was a big field there and they were hiding there. David HaMelech sent to the Chachamim a question. You know what I can do? He says to them, I can burn down the whole field and then they'll be exposed. It will be better for us. But tell me, if I do so, will I have to pay? And the Chachamim said to him, David HaMelech, you're going to have to pay. You're allowed to do it, but you're going to have to pay. He says the Pnei Yeshua, but is matzil acherim? No, he's matzil also himself. David HaMelech is also in danger. They're fighting against Klal Yisrael. You see from here, says the Pnei Yeshua, matzil atzmoi, en acherim, with mamon acherim, is chayav to pay. We have 2 against 1.
Chaskinu, say what you said. What?
He's a king, and thus?
Oh, like they're shooting them.
You see that Dik Duk Alocha, even a king in Klal Yisrael wants to do the right thing and asks the Chachamim, do I have to pay or not?
But as I was saying, maybe it's like the Memshala. They pay because that's their achrayus, maybe.
You see,
Achrayus to pay for...
our Memshala is a little different here. First, it doesn't go, unfortunately, yet, according to Dinei HaTorah. Second of all, they are the same body that ultimately is going to pay compensation and stuff. So we want to limit it to an individual basis. But David HaMelech is asking like an individual. I can burn, will I have to pay the individual who owned the Goren, who owned that field?
David's not asking us Melech, he's asking us individual?
Yeah.
It's his shiloh, it's a personal shiloh.
No, to pay the individual who owned the field that I'm going to burn. You have the Pnei Yeshua, and you have the Minchas Pitim that say this guy has to pay. According to our case, with a standard he's going to have to pay. You have the Nesivois who says he doesn't have to pay. 2 against 1. What do we do? So in this case, he's chayav to pay. However, we're going to paskin that he's patu. Why? Why in the world would he be patu after everything we said?
What?
How did the stender that he threw get to the shul?
Get to what? They bought it.
Last week, you gave it as a gift to the shul. Consecrated. You're magdish it to the shul.
Is that the case?
When you were magdish to the shul, what did you think about? This stender should only be limited to the purposes of putting the Gemara, and sometimes Shulchan Aruch Hanet. Ma pitom. When a person is magdish something to the Beis HaMedrash, he's magdish it for all purposes in the Beis HaMedrash, and therefore, if you have to climb on the stender, on the table, in order to get to the light to switch the bulb, in order to turn on the AC, if you see a snake and you want to kill him, you take the stender and you throw it on the snake, and that's 100% kosher. Because when the stender was consecrated, was mugdash, to Beis HaMedrash, it was consecrated for all Tzorchei Beis HaMedrash, similar to Leiv Beis Din Masnei Aleim. There's a built-in t'nai, a built-in condition when you give something to the shul that it will serve for all purposes in the shul. This was one of the purposes. This is exactly what's one of the purposes, and therefore he is patu. Similarly, 55 years ago, in one of the wars of Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, there was a period where it used to be called, during the war, the army would go around and would say, tonight there is a ha'afala. You know what ha'afala is? You got to make sure, what's that?
Dark.
Dark. It means that you must cover all the windows and all sources producing light, because we're expecting something big from the Jordanians. You must cover all windows. Maran Zecher Tzadik Livrocha Rebbe Yoshiv had a shir like he had every night for 70 years, and they forgot to cover the windows. So what are you going to do now? You're going to cancel Talmud Torah de Rabbim? So the Gabbai came to him and said, Rebbe, can I take the paroches off the Aron Kodesh? Paroches! For Aron Kodesh! To cover the window? That's a Kedusha Chamura, and the window, don't know what kind of a Kedusha is it, a Kedusha. Can you demote the paroches from a Kedusha Chamura to Kedusha Kala? We have a rule. Ma'arin Makodesh? Ve'ein Moridin. Rabbi Yosef said, yes. What is the paroches doing there? It's for tznius. The Aron already has a door. It's for tznius. Tznius be'alma. Talmud Torah de Rabbim. There's nothing like Talmud Torah de Rabbim. But what's behind this? Lev Beis Din Masnei Alein. The Bima. The Rosh Yeshiva Shlita is leaning on the Bima. Who gave him permission? The Bima is for the Sefer Torah. So we should open the Sefer Torah and read to the Tzibur. So how in the world do you sometimes daven next to the Bima and you put your siddur on it? Ma'arin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin. You put the Sefer Torah there. How come you're allowed to put your arm on it? To put your siddur? The answer is Leiv Beis Din Masnei Alein. When we built this Bima, or bought it, or acquired it from anywhere we did, we had in mind, we, the people who built the shul, that we can do anything we want with this Bima. And with that we have the right to do it. For example, it's very, very common. They ask you to do psicha. You open the Aron HaKodesh, but you don't know Brich Shmei by heart. So you take your siddur with you. You say Brich Shmei, then you have to, and the Chazan already finished. Whew, what are you going to do? So you put the siddur inside the Aron HaKodesh and take the Sefer Torah. You need to use hands, and you give it to the Chazan. That's a problem. Aron HaKodesh is dedicated only for Sefer Torah. What are you putting your siddur there? L'chorah, it's a problem. Because we have the klal, Leiv Beis Din Masnei Aleihen, you can do so. Even though lechatchila one should be.
I have no precedent in the Makkah
not to. One should try not to.
Hats and jackets and other things not put in the Bima.
Even the siddur, and even your arm, because could be that in this specific shul they didn't do that night. We hold l'chorah, if you don't know, it also works, and in Mistama they did it, but it could be they didn't. So if one can avoid it, better.
Aron Kodesh, like for example this one. There are two parts. There's the safe part, like the metal, that's where the Aron Kodesh, the Sefer Torah actually in. But then there's between the doors is like a wood piece.
The shell.
So that's not for dafka for
Could be.
Doesn't matter.
Rabbi said we pass in the first shadow, we move into the next shadow. Listen what happened. While the whole thing was going on, one of the Hatzalah members, who lives very close, was learning Daf Yomi at the time, heard that there's 4 guys inside bleeding to death. So he runs quickly to the shul, and the police announced to the people outside, don't go in unless you have a gun. Otherwise you're going to get caught in fire. This is dangerous stuff. Pikuach nefesh. This guy doesn't have any gun, and he doesn't intend to take stenderim and throw it on heads of Arabs. He is going there to stop the bleeding, to help those who are wounded.
Did he go in?
He went inside. But now comes the question, is he allowed to go inside? Are you allowed to put yourself in harm's way, to risk yourself to save your friend?
He went in already, or?
He went inside, and then outside he called us to find out if he did right or not. We need to know. What does that mean, that you have to risk yourself, or that you have to save someone if you can? It means you have to save someone if you have the ability to do so. Chayecha kodmin means what? Two people are walking in the desert, and they only have one bottle of water, which is sufficient to save one of them. It belongs to one of them, belongs to Reuven. Should they split it, because after all, what, you're going to let your friend die in front of your eyes? Or the person who owns it should drink it? Chayecha koidmin. Rabbi Akiva said split him. We don't hold like that. We hold chayecha koidmin. But that's when I own something, and if not, I will die. Similar, but not 100%.
Let's say in the army when there's a war or something, and there's 2 people that come to save the guys that die.
They have
or
guns.
Whatever. It's still in the war. It's not just 2 people. It's about the same, no?
No.
And thus,
Like a medic.
so he's okay or not? Are you allowed to risk your life for saving somebody else?
It's not definite death.
It's not definite death. But it's a real sakonas nefashos. A real eminent pikuach nefesh shayla.
He jumped on.
Isn't that like a fireman?
Fireman has been training for the last 25 years to know exactly what to do, and therefore only he can go in and you can't.
Have a gun.
Nobody's going to the fire.
He's going into the fire to save somebody else. He wasn't in harm's way, and he's putting himself in harm's
The
way.
fireman has clothing against fire.
And he trained for the last 20 years to know what to do in situations like this.
The guy doesn't have a gun.
The Arzei guy has no clue what to do. He just knows how to save
person,
people.
What happened on with him? He was like the Mechabelim actually came towards him. He jumped down like two floors.
Who, the Arzei guy?
Yeah, either him or
My guy, for my question, didn't. He just called me afterwards and he came out and said, "Did I do right or not?" And we have to answer him. Are you allowed to risk yourself? Or not?
You answered already?
For more, if it's more for one person.
Give him answers?
No, you're not.
Ooh. What do you mean? Say that again.
If it's not for
If I'm risking my life for more than one person, so then?
you're allowed.
But if it's one?
No.
Mi gila lo sod zeh. Who revealed to you this unbelievable secret? That to make this chiluk?
You're gonna say you don't know, and then he's gonna say right?
Shammai.
We're going to find out, won't we?
What if there's two people drowning and you don't know how to swim?
If you don't know how to swim, so what are you jumping? We're all going to die.
Right.
What do we gain?
Yeah, like the story.
But he is going to save a person. He doesn't care what's going to happen to him because he sees people bleeding.
No, but if he's
But
going
he
in,
could also
he
die.
could also die.
True. That is our question. Can you do it or not? That's the question.
same case. If you see 20 people drowning and you don't know how to swim, you're still not allowed to because you're also gonna die. It's also in this case.
We have a Mishnah
Doesn't
Bure.
know to catch bullets.
Mishnah Bure in Hilchos Shabbos Shin Chavtet Seif Tes Vav says the Mishnah Bure. If there is a sakana, eino chayav lahatzil. You don't have to go in. Aval lo yedakdek yoiser midai. But don't be so careful to see is it sakana or not. If you want, you can go ahead. But you're not chayav to. That's the Mishnah Bure says. Comes the Migdalois and says a person is not allowed to risk his life to save his friend's life. Not allowed to. Why? Very simple. We have a rule in Yuma Pei Beis. The Gemara says, "My chazis." Familiar with this? My chazis. How do we know that one is not allowed to kill someone to save his life? It's not from a pasuk. Guess what? It's from a svara called My chazis. Who told you that your blood is redder than his? Or that his blood is redder than yours? We don't know whose blood is more favorable to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, more dear to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whose blood as if is redder. And therefore you can't kill someone else to save yourself because you don't know that your blood is more beloved to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore if you're risking your life to save somebody else, in essence you're saying his life is more important, is more dear to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can't do that. Says the Migdalos, you can't do that unless he brings the Sefer Hasidim. Simen Tafrei Sadihei says the Migdalois, based on the Sefer Hasidim, if you know that your friend that you're going to save now is a big Talmid Chochem, a big tzaddik greater than you, you're allowed to do so. If a father and a son are in harm's way, only one of them can be saved. The father can't say, you know what, I'll go, you run away. The father's not allowed to do so. My chazis, who say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves your son more than you? But if a person knows that the person he's going to save is greater than him in tzidkus, in chasidus, in choichma, in toire, in mitzvahs, and perhaps as if he is more dear, as if the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says a Sefer Hasidim, you are allowed to. If you're with your Rebbe and you hold that your Rebbe is one of Gdolei Olam, you're allowed to. If you know that you don't reach his ankles, so you're allowed to. That's what the Sefer Hasidim says. In our case in Har Nof, the 4 people that were murdered, Talmidei Chachomim Muvhakim, Tzadikim, Rashi Yeshivos. There's some frightening things that were said over the knowledge that these people had. Mamish Talmidei Chachomim. And therefore, in our case, he would be allowed to do so.
You knew who they were?
No. But he's asking us after the fact. But there's another place to be matir.
I don't think it's enough time to ask.
Correct.
You know that. I just want to know.
Well, we want to know. But there's another side, leheter, because when he goes in, the Arabs see that Klal Yisrael doesn't stop is not afraid. And that's actually going to cause them to be afraid. Lichoira, perhaps in the future it would potentially stop future acts like this, or maybe minimize them. They know that we are not afraid, and that is our strength. And in fact, what you said before is perfect, because it's exactly what Esther did, and that was her calculation. You're not allowed, says the Migdalois as well, to risk yourself to save someone else, but to save Rabim, you're allowed to, and that is the heter that Esther did. That's what she relied on. Who gave you permission? Maybe Achashverosh is not happy today and he's not going to want to see you, he's going to kill you. You're allowed to save many, even at the risk of your own life. And therefore here, he's going in to save many. And therefore, Kosher v'yosha. He did good.
Is it not a situation of being against Chil in a certain sense of going in, similar to what you're saying right now, that to go to against Chil versus Yarg Valyav person. So over here he's being wasted nefesh to be Mekadeh Shem Shema, which is really what we do. Is be Mekadeh Shem Shema. We're going in there and showing the Arabs that we're not.
Oh, so if there will be an element, and because of that, there will be an element of some kind of a fear, or showing them we are not caving. In the future, this can actually help Klal Yisrael. It's within Hatzalas Harabim, and therefore it would be okay. And that's why what he did was good. He had a heter to do so. What if he is caught in the fire, he's already inside, he doesn't have a gun? Can he run outside? Is he allowed to run outside? Or should he stay there and try to save?
Stay, he already put himself in a mouth of Sakana.
The halacha is, he is allowed to do whatever he wants. If he wants, he can stay, because he's not placing himself in harm's way, he's already in harm's way. However, if he wants to, and he can leave. Similar to what happened in France last week. Those people who could have ran out did so, and they did good, saved themselves. Rabbi Yisai, listen to the next question. In Har Nof, there was a guy who didn't have kids for many, many years. And therefore he made a neder. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make you a deal. If you give me a child, I will support all the Yesoimim in Har Nof with 1,000 shekel each per month for a year. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu listened and said, okay, fine. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him a child. Child was born 2 months before this happened in Cheshvan. And therefore this guy, not rich, but he's okay, he has a business, he's fine. He's 10 Yesoimim in Har Nof, and every month he spends 10,000 shekels. 1,000 shekel per an orphan for a year. But suddenly, in one day, 24 new orphans were added in one neighborhood. Pilei ploim. Know what this translates to?
Another 24,000.
Another 24,000 per month. Now he asks, another additional 24 on top of the 10 that he's already paying. Now he's asking, do I have to fulfill this neder or not? Does he have to pay? When he made the neder, did he think that there's going to be another 24? He thought, Mistama is going to be another 1, another 2, maybe even 3, or perhaps 4. 24, who could have thought about that? Does he have to pay additional 24,000 every month or not?
Yeah.
Neder is a neder.
Also because he said it and
You just said if it was like 1 or 2, then fine.
True.
Maybe the only reason Hashem gave him is because he knew this would happen.
You heard what he said? Maybe the only reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the kid is because he knew he wanted somebody to sponsor these kids.
What's the rule?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
No, he has to pay.
He has to pay. He has to pay. That's 2 already? 3. Anyone suggests that he doesn't have to pay? Or this is a simple open and shut case, which our cases are usually not.
The neder was not. The neder was anything happens during the year. The neder was.
Bishas the neder. Any Yisomim they will be in Har Nof. But did I think there will be additional 24?
What did he say?
Yev
Shaladat. So now it's 4 people against this guy, poor guy. Sheesh, 24,000 extra 1,000 shekels from his pocket every month. No rachamim in this shul today. What's that?
He must have a good business.
He better get some good business. Rabbi Yisai, Adata dehachi loy nadar. The Mishnah in Nedorim Daf Chav Zayin. The Mishnah says, Nidrei onsin eina nedorim. It is clear that when he made this neder, he never thought in his wildest dreams. 24 additional Yesoimim. That's more than twice or the double, 1.5 times more than what he's paying right now. It's called Nidrei Onsin. Similar, the Tashbetz. The Tashbetz is one of the late Achronim or early Rishonim. He's like on the borderline Tkufa between the era of Rishonim and Achronim. And the Tashbetz was asked. Reuven borrowed money from Shimon and he said, Reuven, I make a Shavua. I will repay you by Rosh Chodesh Adar. I'm going to have all the money Rosh Chodesh Adar, I'm going to pay you. And guess what? Rosh Chodesh Adar came and he didn't have the money. He didn't have the money. They take him to Beis Din. The Beis Din said, did you make a Shavua? He said, yeah. No, so you have to pay. He says, well, what can I do? I don't have the money. Do you want me to steal? What do you want me to do? I don't have the money. Says the Tashbetz, he doesn't have to pay. And he doesn't even have to take a loan from someone else. Because it's clear that when he made a shua, he had thought, this guy owes me money, he's going to give me back. Or this money is coming in a certain way, the bank is releasing some money. He never thought. He made the shua because he really believed he's going to have the money. And what can you do? It's called Nidrei Onsin. Nidrei Onsin, Eina Nedorim, says the Tashbetz, he's exempt. He's not exempt from the Chov. He has to pay when he's going to get the money. But because Rosh Chodesh Adar came, Rosh Chodesh Shevat, whatever we said, and he still doesn't have the money, it doesn't mean that because of that he has to sell his house, or he has to borrow money from somebody else. Lav adata dehachi nakat shvua, and therefore he is
patur.
That guy had a few million shekels in his bank account. Does it make a difference?
Avade. The guy who borrowed the money and he owes the money?
No, the guy.
Oh, that has no relevance. Because you have your choiv, whether the guy is rich or the guy is poor.
Like enough money to pay.
Does that exempt you from your obligation? Absolutely not.
Does he need to pay, let's say, 250 shekels per kid?
No. Because the neder was made for those people, for those orphans right here, and the potential orphans that I thought in my mind that potentially will be added during the year. Nobody could have thought 24 new orphans in one shot.
Maybe 1, 2,
right? 3. 1, 2, 3. What is exactly the borderline? I don't know. That the Beis Din can assess, but it's clear. Look at statistics. Normally, neighborhoods don't get additional 24 orphans in one day. And not even over the course of a year.
Unfortunately, we're living in a school where
True.
Things are happening.
True. And yet,
what's together of an itis when
this is an umdana, a muchach. The Beis Din is.
A father of 15 or 13 could tragically. He's saying the same thing. Get killed in a car accident, or become sick out of nowhere and pass away within 2 weeks.
But you know what?
Because let's say there's his neighbor, or forget his neighbor, somebody he doesn't even know has major lung cancer or something like that, and they're dying in a week. So when he made this, and this guy has 15 children, when he made the shvua, this guy was for sure dying in a week. So because it added in 15, so what? Tachlis, you made your neder, and
we tend to think that a neder obligates you at all times. There is such a thing as a Pesach, a Noilad, and going to a Chacham and be matir the neder. It exists. Some nedarim cannot be nullified. A neder that was vowed al da'as rabim in front of everybody in the shul can never be nullified. Bishas Sarah, person in the middle of the words, if you get me out of this one, I am gonna. Can never be nullified. But other nedarim absolutely can be. We have a whole parsha in the Torah, Parshas Matos, how to nullify a neder. And because we said this ma'aseh about a kid and a neder, this reminds me of something. Listen to this ma'aseh. This ma'aseh happened in Bnei Brak just a few years ago. There was a couple in Bnei Brak that didn't have children for 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, 15 years, 20 years, married 25 years with no children. Their cousin from Borough Park comes to visit, and he goes into this guy and says to him, you know, you have to wake up. Not everybody is zoichet to have children. Not everybody's tikkun in this world is to have kids. There are anashim gedolim that didn't have children. Chazon Ish was pretty big, no? No children, do you know that? But he had children, spiritual children, his Sfarim. And we all learn his Sfarim. There are many people, great people who didn't have kids, and you have to wake up and smell the coffee. So you're not going to have kids, but you have to move on. You tried all kinds of different things, all kinds of treatments with the doctors. It's not happening for you. You have to be realistic and move on. And the guy from Bnei Brak says, tell me, and who told you I'm not going to have children? Are you a Navi? He said, I'm not a Navi. But look, it's been 25 years. You tried everything there is. You went to all the Rabbanim, got the brachos. You went to all the Kvarim. You davened there. You went to all the doctors. It's not happening. And the guy says, but who told you? Are you a Navi? He says, I'm not a Navi. But you know it's not happening. Who told you? Are you a Navi? He says, I'm not a Navi, but... Fine. Goes back to the States. Says to his wife, oh, I gave it to my cousin. I told him. And his wife says, well, who told you they're not going to have children? He says, what do you mean? You know they're not going to have children. With you I can talk freely. It's 25 years, they tried everything in the world. They're never having children, it's clear. So his wife says, and who told you they're not going to have children? My dear wife. He says to her, if they're going to have children, guess what? I'm going to sell my business. I'm going to move to Bnei Brak and become a koilel guy. How do you like that? Fine. Half a year passes by, a year and a half, 2 years later. After 27 years of marriage, twins, a boy and a girl. They call him to Borough Park and say Mazel Tov, and he says, Oy vey zmia. He quickly calls his travel agent, and he runs to Bnei Brak, goes to Chaim Kanievsky. He says, Rebbe, what do I do? Can you be please matir the neder? And the Rabbi says, I don't think so. So Rebbe, what do I do? Maybe I can pay someone to sit in the kollel instead of me. And Chaim Kanievsky says, I don't think so. So what do I do? And Chaim says, you sell your business, you move to Bnei Brak, and you sit in the kollel just like you promised. And Reb Chaim added, who told you? Maybe the only reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the children is because he wanted to see you sitting in yeshiva and learning. But he said, don't sell it immediately, do it gradually over time so you don't lose a lot of money, but you have to fulfill your neder. Similar to what one of you said here. Maybe that's the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him the children. Maybe. Boy Sai, what time is it?
7:12.
Have another one? No. One more shayla. A guy is waiting in Kupat Cholim, sits and waits for his turn. And suddenly a guy comes in and he looks very suspicious. Something is sticking out, bulging out, and doesn't look good. And we are living in a dangerous era, dangerous times. So this guy goes to this guy, stops him. Whoa, 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 stop! I want to check you out. I want to search you. Take your hands off. What do you want from me? He says, I don't like the way you look. I don't like the way you look. And they start arguing. He says, take your hands off me. I don't like the way you look. And while they're arguing, another guy came. And he saw that this guy is very suspicious. And you know what he did? Punched him in the nose. And that guy fell back. Reuven was arguing with Shimon. Comes Levi. And he punched him in the nose. And he fell down, so he ripped his shirt to find out what is this bomb that he have here. And you know what he had? A wallet. Comes Levi, the boxer, and he asks us, do I have to pay? Do I have to pay for the shirt? Do I have to pay for his nose? He didn't break his nose, but for the fact that you punched someone, busha, it's worth money. Does he have to pay or not? L'choira, this is ma'asim shebechol yom. L'choira is something that can happen. We need to know. לא. אולי. למה אני אומר שזה לא? Why isn't it similar?
Why does it have to be the first child throwing the stender?
What?
He tried to help us.
But this is not b'mamon haverim. This is the same person himself. I'm not using somebody else.
No, he's saving the other guy.
I'm not saving myself.
He's saving the second guy.
To feed the story.
No, he's saving the second guy.
He doesn't have to pay.
He's saving the second.
Let's talk only about the punching now. He doesn't have to pay him?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Tachas, this guy, like, he told me he looked suspicious. Could you take out whatever you have in your pocket? He's like, no, and he was misarif, so it shows maybe, like, he was arguing back and forth with him. It shows.
What a svare! What a svare! Where'd you get the svare from?
My head.
No, you got from Shulchan Aruch. Or Chaim Taf Reish Yud Chet. Hilchos Yom HaKippurim. What's the connection to Hilchos Yom HaKippurim? By Hilchos Yom HaKippurim, if a person is very, very sick, and the doctor says, you have to drink, what does he do?
Drink.
He has to drink. And if the doctor says no, and he says, I don't want to drink, what do? You don't drink. What if there's no doctor in shul? And that guy looks pale, and he looks really bad. And he comes to us, and we say, you look really bad, you have to drink. Should he drink? Yeah. We become the doctors. But there's no doctor around. We are the doctors now. The Torah gave us koyach now to act as professionals, as experts. Since there is no security guard over there, obviously, otherwise they would turn to him to take care of the matter. We now become the professionals. And if he refuses to take out or to allow me to frisk him, it's called Ihu de'azik anafshei. He damaged himself. Don't come complaining that I punched your nose. You as if punch yourself in the nose. Because you refuse, because you know we're living in dangerous times. Why in the world would you cause me to suspect you and others as well and think we're not going to do anything about it? It's dangerous. I'm worried about my life. You are hurting yourself.
What about the shirt? He had a lot of money and he saw a guy coming to him, like going towards him.
Could be. But you know what? You're living in dangerous times and life overrides a few dollars, even if it's a few $1,000s. And therefore, if you want to protect your wallet, fine. But don't come complaining afterwards that I broke your nose. He damaged himself. What about the shirt?
He has to pay.
He has to pay. Why? It was a very expensive shirt. $150 shirt.
No, because
That's expensive.
What does he have to ship? How much is your shirt?
he
cost?
have to rip because he could have opened, he could have fell.
The same svara we just used to exempt him from the punching, we'll use it again for exempting him from the shirt. Because if you don't stop, I'm going to rip your shirt. I'm going to find out what you have there. It's dangerous. I suspect you are a killer, a mass murderer. Who knows what you're going to do? You're going to blow up the whole place. And therefore, I'm required to tear the shirt. And you, if you had brains, are required to stop. And since you don't, Ihu de'azik anafshei.
So why don't we use that svara back on the standard to be mechayev the mechablim?
We would love to do that. They're killed.
But the point is that once it's someone else's chiyav, we don't say, well, since they can't pay, you're mechayev. If the svara of Yudazik and Nafshe takes it and makes it his,
if it was really the case, if the case in Har Nof was such that we can obligate the terrorist because he's Jewish and he's alive.
The government to cover for them, but the svara is like this. It's not that, well, if there's no one to obligate the terrorist, then it goes back to you. If Lamaisa, the mechabim were mazik and Nafshe, as I wasn't mazik because you did it.
The concept of matzil atzmoi b'mamon chaveiro is always that somebody is chasing afterwards, and I'm utilizing somebody else's car, and I'm throwing it on your head.
It could matzil atzmoi because there's a fire.
Could be.
But if this story is asking nafshe,
Ihu de'azik anafshei only means in our case that he caused himself the damage, and therefore you can't complain to anyone and sue anyone else. But there's an amazing Gemara, Bachos Samech Beis. The Gemara says, David HaMelech, when he was old, it's after we read from Elohim. Vayichi zoken David, vayichasu babgodim velo yecham lo. He couldn't get himself warm. Why? Says the Gemara. Kol hamevaze es abgodim soifa she'eno nehena mehem. One who desecrates begadim, clothing, at the end, you know what's going to happen to him? Measure for measure, he's not going to get any benefit from garments. What are we talking about? David HaMelech, running away from Shaul. Shaul is chasing him, wants to kill him. So he hides in a cave. And one day, Shaul HaMelech comes into the same cave at night. Shaul can't see him, but he can see Shaul. What should he do? Go with Shaul and kill him. What did he do?
Rip off his clothes.
He ripped off a little from the shirt, from the clothes. Says the Gemara, oh, that's what you do to clothing? Where's your comfort? Where's your respect? And therefore, measure for measure later on in life, you are not going to benefit from the clothes. Says the Yirun Yaakov and the Ben Ishchai as well. And Ben Yehuda. Excuse me, what are you talking about? Ihu de'azik anafshi. Shaul HaMelech had this coming to him. What do you want from David HaMelech? Brilliant answer. Says the Ben Yehuda. Do you know what he did? Instead of ripping a little piece and then showing Shaul HaMelech, you see, I could have killed you, which is what he did. And because of that, there was peace and quiet between them for 20 years. He stopped chasing him. David HaMelech ripped another 2 centimeters. That's called already Bizayon of God.
What do we say about the first thing?
Says, because you have to, it's Pikuach Nefesh, you have to rip and try to go at it and fight what it is. Says the Yun Yaakov, you know what he did wrong? Instead of ripping over here a little, he ripped over here and made it unfit for tzitzis. Bizayon of Godim, and therefore Mida can I get Mida, he didn't benefit. However, in our case, he will be exempt. Rav Weiss Mendel, Zecher Tzadik Livroche, lost 5 of his boys in the Holocaust. They murdered him. He had a brilliant chiddush. We say it every day. Nekades yeshimcha ba'olam kishem shemagdishim oiso b'shmei marom. What does that mean? Bishmei Marom, upstairs, the Malachim, the Srafim, the Chayos, the Yefanim, they are Mekadeshim Shemayim, V'kar Arzei, Elze Ve'omar, Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. All the ones who were killed on Kiddush Shem Shemayim do the same. There's a special chamber for them, the fourth chamber from the 7 chambers upstairs, and they're Mekadesh Shem Shemayim every day. Says of Weissmandel, Nekades Shimcha Ba'olam. You know what we mean when we say this? We should make Kiddush Shem Shemayim Ba'olam Hazeh, just like the Malachim do in Kiddush Shem Shemayim in the Olam upstairs. We have the ability, we have the obligation to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim every day, just like they do it upstairs. How do they do it upstairs? They say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. How do we do it here? We learn Torah. We learn Torah. If we learn Torah here, Nekadesh Shimcha Ba'olam Kishem, just like Shemagdishim Oiso the Malachim. Bishmei Marom Yirtzeh Hashem, you should be zoiche להגדיל תורה להאדירה, לקדש שם שמיים ברבים עד ביסגו על צדק במהרה בימינו. אמן.